can't believe
we just came here because we saw evidence guild and we thought that's promising. So.
Oh, right. Okay.
When I hear evidence, I hear good news because you know the Quran says if you speak the truth, bring your evidence.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay. So what do you want to know?
Whatever you have to say to us.
Well, first of all.
Anything.
First of all,
absolutely anything that's relevant to us.
Before we got into that, let's talk about what does Catholicism mean. So from your perspective, tell us about what Catholicism means.
Okay. The Catholic Church, which is the religion of Catholicism.
Yep.
The Catholic Church was established by the Lord Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago, and every human being is called to join the Catholic Church because the Catholic Church is the new Israel. The new Israel. The old Israel was established by God through Abraham. The law was given by Moses, by which the Israelites must live. And the new Israel is that concept broadened out beyond a geographical boundary and beyond a particular race of people, to the entire human race.
Okay.
So that's the Catholic Church, the new Israel, and Catholicism, the religion which is ancient Israel completed.
Okay. So in terms of, sorry, you said it was started by Jesus 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
Did he call it Catholicism, or what did he refer to it as?
Jesus didn't give it the name Catholicism. We gave it the name Catholicism subsequently. So the first recorded instance that we have of Catholicism is when St. Ignatius of Antioch, in about the year 107 AD, refers to the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Wherever Jesus Christ is, there's the Catholic Church.
Yep.
And so that's 107 AD. That's about 7 years after the death of St. John the Apostle.
Yep.
Because he writes in such a way that his recipients of that letter will know what he's talking about, it was probably in use prior to his letter. So it probably comes from some time in the first century AD.
The term was, as far as we know, in terms of historical evidence, it was first used in 107 AD.
It's first found in 107 AD, in the documents of that, yeah.
That's the earliest known use of the term.
Yes.
But the way the term is being used, you're saying, implies that the people who were receiving the letter, it implies that they would have known the meaning of the word.
Yes, because otherwise he'd have to explain what he's talking about.
Right.
You know.
So the implication is, okay, so the people, the term was in use before this. Otherwise, they wouldn't have understood what it meant, and he would have had to define it.
That's my position. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, could you tell us? Do you know the name of this letter? So I could let me check.
Ignatius of Antioch wrote 7 letters.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just take some notes here. Sorry. I'm going to look this up because
Go ahead. Writing Ignatius of Antioch, and usually you can find his 7 letters associated with that. I can't remember which one. Whether it's Simenaeans, I can't remember. Is it? Okay.
Yeah, but you can't sound the phone.
Okay, what's the book called, sir?
Nations of Antioch is the names of the letters.
No, write Ignatius.
Saint Ignatius.
Saint Ignatius, yes.
How do I spell Ignatius?
IGN.
IGN.
AT. IUS.
IUS.
Of Antioch.
Of Antium.
Antioch.
How do I spell that?
ANT.
Yep. OCH.
I think that's 2 separate things, by the way. Split that into 2 lines.
You sure?
Yeah. Nations of Antioch.
No.
Let me click on this. Nations of Antioch and Saint Ignatius of Antioch. Yeah?
That's right.
So the nations of Antioch.
No, not nations.
Oh, just nations.
Yeah, no. So I think we misheard each other. It's Ignatius of Antioch.
Oh, right.
That's it.
Okay.
Nothing else.
Yeah, so that's all.
There you go.
Yep.
Perfect.
And so he wrote a letter. Sorry, my hands.
It's okay. I know. I'm the same. He wrote 7 letters. I can't remember which one, which mentions the Catholic Church. But my friend here thought it was a letter to the Magnesians.
Letters of Magnesium.
Letter to the
Maybe here and there as well, you see, because
Okay.
it was his favorite
So how do you spell magnesium?
theme.
MAGNES
Yes.
IANS.
IANS. Okay.
But I'm not guaranteeing that was the particular letter in which you get the phrase Catholic Church. It might be one of the other 7, one of the other 6, sorry.
I'm so sorry that it's taking so slow.
It's all right. But I don't know whether it's worth spending time on that right now.
Yeah, sure. I just want to, because I want to know, obviously, if you're saying that Jesus sort of started the Catholic Church,
Yes.
you know, if he didn't use that term, it would then start to raise questions about like why are we using that term?
Here's what matters. We could have changed the name
Yep.
to the Gubbly Blubbly Church
Yep.
in the Middle Ages.
Yep.
What really matters is not the name,
That's true, that's
it's
true.
whether the institution
Yes.
itself continues.
Yep.
So we say, right, Jesus established a church 2,000 years ago because he was here 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And that our church can trace itself all the way back to him.
Okay.
It's not like the Lutheran Church, for example, which began 500 years ago with Martin Luther or some other named person. It goes all the way back.
It traces its roots to
Yeah,
the
and anybody who says, well, no, that's not the case, we would say, well, give us a date that this church to which I belong began. And I'd find it very difficult for anybody to do that other than right back into the time of Jesus. So, go.
So a small question. So you said obviously the name doesn't matter, it's all semantics. But could I argue if names are easily changeable throughout time, that could be an evidence that the system or other definitions and meanings or understandings of theology could be changed over time as well?
I would say there's no direct connection between a change of name and that. However, if I'm right in what I just said to your friends, if we can show we've got this institutional continuity from the time of Jesus to 2021 AD,
What do you mean by that?
well, that there's an unbroken line of leadership
Preservation of the
Oh,
religion.
oh,
of
the leaders.
men who've, yeah.
Are these the
so,
popes?
Yeah, that's it, the popes and the bishops who've succeeded each other down the
So you're
generations.
talking about preservation of the religion.
Preservation of the institution first. So, like the popes, for example, they're the institutional leaders all the way
So
back.
you're saying that they have authority because they were granted authority by the ones who had authority before them. And if you accept that Jesus had authority, then you must also accept that the Catholic Church, the institution of the Catholic Church, also has authority.
That's
Because it was
that's saying
passed down.
a lot of what you say is what I'd say as well. Absolutely right. It's not just the popes themselves.
Right.
It's the entire collection of bishops.
Okay.
Because when one pope dies,
Right.
then the cardinals, the head bishops, gather together and they elect a new pope.
Okay.
So it's the church that conveys this
So the
authority.
institution is granted legitimacy because of this unbroken chain to Jesus, who we essentially the axiom is that Jesus has legitimacy.
That's it.
Right. So
Yes.
okay. In terms of so because I had this question. I don't know much about the Catholic Church or the Catholic religion, but I know this is what I've heard somewhere that the Catholic Church began. It was originally the Roman Church,
Yeah.
and as it became Christian essentially, and I guess it became the Catholic Church. Is that true that the institution itself existed before Jesus? But then I guess what you would say is that Jesus granted legitimacy because they became Christian, or how would that?
Okay. In ancient Israel, at the time of Jesus, there was no institution other than the different Jewish groups.
Okay.
And the Sanhedrin was heading Judaism broadly in Jerusalem, and there was no church separate from that elsewhere. There were the Essenes out in Qumran, and the Zealots and other groups.
So you're saying that what I've
So
heard,
we didn't exist. Yes, it's not historical.
Some
Yeah.
myth that people are just trying
And
to-
one thing you'll know, the guys over there, the Protestant folks,
Yeah.
they're no friends of ours.
Okay.
They disagree with us in many
Why is
ways.
that so? Why is that?
Because the Reformation in Europe happened 500 years ago, and there's a great disagreement
that was a
between
big
Catholics
split.
and Protestants. The reason I mention it, just a moment, the reason I mention it is because these guys have theologians and historians, and they would never say what somebody told you. Their theologians and historians know that the Catholic Church didn't exist.
I'm not particularly sure if it was from a Protestant. I heard.
Oh,
It's just something.
okay.
To be honest, it's just something that's floating in my head because I've heard it somewhere.
No worries.
I'm
But you
not
could
gonna
read.
give it much credence. I just wanted to hear if you maybe.
Yeah,
had
no, that's
something to say
you
about
could read though Protestant authorities and historians,
Yeah.
and you would say that they tend to agree with what I've said
Okay.
about this not existing before Jesus.
it. And that includes the Protestant historians. They agree that the line essentially is unbroken from the.
Oh
Catholic.
no, they wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
They wouldn't go that far. They'd be
So
with
can you-
brothers
sorry,
otherwise.
Can you repeat again what they would agree with? So that
They would agree that the Catholic Church didn't exist before Jesus,
okay. So
that it was sort of like a
Yeah. They would
yeah,
agree that it didn't
that's
exist.
right.
Okay.
They wouldn't. There's some crazy views out there, so it's useful to look at what Protestant authorities write because
Right,
they're intellectuals and they're sensible.
Let me ask you a question. So the Pope and the bishops,
Yes.
they're interested in preserving the institution.
Yes.
from the time of Jesus.
That's right.
So even though we may not have recorded evidence
you guys
of
Catholic,
the Catholicism
Are you two Catholic as well?
institution, surely the preservation of the popes and the bishops would preserve the fact that even before the paperwork that we have today, that it did go all the way towards Jesus. So why would the Protestants argue with the Catholics about the existence of Catholicism before this time?
Yes, because they tend not to argue. Put aside the born-again Christians of Hyde Park. Intellectual Protestants tend to accept that the institution existed right back to the 1st century. However, they say we went off in the wrong direction in terms of our beliefs.